Hey, welcome to the Harry Man Show number 31, where we have a guest that someone I looked up to in the previous decades, Steve Bowman. He's played in countless acts. He's a heck of a clinician. He's a hell of a drummer too as well. How you doing, Steve?
Very well, thank you, man.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show, Steve. I really appreciate it. And you're coming all the way from Nashville there.
That's right, Nashville, Tennessee.
How's it going out there right now, weather-wise?
Great. Oh, it's beautiful. We're having some kind of crazy spring week in the middle of fall, so I'm taking advantage of it, going outside as much as I can.
Yeah. Phoenix is kind of all over the place as well. Hot one second, cold the next.
Yeah, where are you?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's always hot, right?
Yeah, 60 degrees is like freezing here, apparently. But
oh, man. Well, fantastic.
All right. Well, having you on the show, Steve is a well-known drummer and a songwriter. What came first, the drumming or the songwriting for you?
Well, drumming. I mean, I don't really espouse to be a formal songwriter. I don't like write songs and pitch them and stuff, but I've been playing in bands for so long and been around songs and been around great songwriters, and just I've gone through the process so much that I've acquired a certain amount of knowledge that I feel that I can pass on to younger players, and that's what I'm doing. We'll probably talk about that later, but I have this website. So when you say songwriter, what I really like doing is working with songwriters and helping collaborate, working on tension and release and arrangements and lyrics and all kinds of stuff. And so, I play drums, I teach drums but I really want to branch out and do more with other types of players, bass, guitar, singer-songwriters. After 30 years in the biz, I feel like I have a lot to say to everybody. So,
yeah, that's a long time.
So, yeah, bring it on. Let's have some fun,
So I want to take it back to, I recently just watched your Drum Shed clinic video. That you did great on that way. Anyone check it out, you can just look up Steve Bowman on YouTube. I noticed you played Lubbock and Case Cymbals on there. Is that what you started with, or what was your first kit getting into it?
Well, you're talking about Ludwig?
Oh, just Kiss in general. What was your first kit?
Yeah. Well, Ludwig was my first, and it was just a fluke. I mean, my parents, when I was in third grade, I'd been playing drums, like I got some sticks in kindergarten and just couldn't put them down. And so I was really lucky in that regard that I got an early start and I was into it. And so by third grade, my parents had to get a drum set or they're going to lose all their furniture. And and they happened to get this old used Ludwig club date from a friend of ours. Like, it was $125 for this Ludwig drum set that, I ended up painting and selling like an idiot. If I had it now, it'd be like the most important, thing I have.
Yeah, that's a common occurrence I hear in a lot of drummers. They're like that. That first one's the gem,
Yeah, but I was a dumb kid. Anyway, the thing with Ludwig though was that was the first logo, the first badges I saw. The size of the flex in their wraps is different than Pearl and all the others, and so I just fell. I mean, I fell in love with the look and smell and everything about Ludwig, and also at that time, Ludwig was one of like the biggest drummers played Ludwig, and nowadays there's all these great companies and people play everything, but back then that was it, and so. All my favorite drummers, it was a slam dunk, and to this day, when I see that sparkle, those lugs, the swirl of Ringo's kit, I mean, that's it for me.
And the club kit you had, was it a red sparkle or a blue sparkle?
Well, that was provided by. Let's see, Steeble Drums out there in John Steeble has a great drum shop out there. And when they did the clinic, they got some drums from there. At the time, I've been playing SF Drum Co., San Francisco Drum Company.
Okay.
And there wasn't a drum set in that area. And I was flying in, and I said, if you can find me an old funky vintage Ludwig kit, that would be cool. And so that's what they did.
Oh, right on.
And so that drum set was just sitting there. I walked in, I was like, yeah, perfect. and I work with Aquarian heads, and they had like Aquarian heads on it and Vic-Firth sticks. I was just like, all right, here we go. So that was a wonderful day. Everybody was so good to us down there that day, and I flew in with a stick bag, and it was just as cushy as could be. So
Nice.
great times.
Did you come from a family of music, or were you the first one?
Well, my mom was a singer, and she sang in the San Francisco Symphony Chorus for 25 years.
Oh, nice.
And both my parents were real into classical music, and both are musical. But I was the only one who became a musician. My parents are both teachers, and my brother, I have a twin brother who plays bass. Mike is a bassist, great player, and we grew up playing together all the time. I know, bass and drums, twins, it was nuts.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, Mike decided that he didn't want to deal with the life of music and the risk and the BS, and he went to school, and he's doing something else now, but he's real happy. He still plays on weekends. But yeah, I'm the only one that, just had the bug. I didn't really feel like there was anything else I wanted to do other than, maybe be a professional baseball player. That was, that ended at about, 10 years old when I realized everybody was better than me. But drumming, I was still good at. And so from a very early age, it was like all I wanted to do. And I feel so lucky because, I didn't, through no credit to me, this, I saw a drum set when I was a kid and just went, oh my God. I was like, loud, shiny drum set kind of solved all my problems in one fell swoop. So,
yeah.
I'm lucky,
Yeah, and were you taking lessons or were you self-taught?
Well, I did, what happened originally was my Uncle Ron showed me how to do a paradiddle. He was, he played in the military. He was a drummer in like a line, did snare drum. And so he showed me how to do a paradiddle, and I loved the paradiddle. I got fast at it, and I was just doing it on everything. And I did that for like a year. I would do paradiddles on everything. And then I think I got into lessons a couple of years later, but I was terrible at it. The guy would try to get me to work on stuff, and I wouldn't. And so it wasn't until really, I played all the time, but really in high school was when I finally thought, I should probably get serious about this. And because, other people read better than me, and other people do things that I may need. And so I started studying with a couple people. One was a guy named Sly Randolph, an amazing, he played in the Broadway musical Hair. And it's this little tiny music shop in Oakland, California. He just happened to be there, and me too. So it was just one of those lucky things. It wasn't like I sought him out, but I just happened to land on this really super funky, experienced guy.
And stars aligned the right way.
Yeah. There was another guy named John Exapolius who taught everybody in town. And I studied with him. He was fantastic. And then Brett Cosby was one of my, these are all teachers. They were great teachers, and yet I was, I was an average student, but I was passionate about playing. So, I would show up at a lesson and say, "Did you work on this?" I'd say, "No, but look at this," So, I don't know. I probably drove them nuts, but great memories, and it gave me, you should be able to read 16th notes. I always say that.
Yeah.
I later got into teaching, and that's really when I learned more about reading and phrasing, and anything I was teaching, I was learning, oh yeah, that makes sense. I always kind of knew that, but this makes it official,
And that brings me to the next subject. You wrote a really good book called Group Control. How did that come about as well, too?
Oh, well, thanks. That's a great example. With Group Control, what happened, this is years later, like after I've been, been playing for 15, 20 years, right? I started, well, I'll tell you the story. What happened was, there's this old song, oh man, I gotta remember the song. Well, it's this basic train beat, right? This guy's going, jack, jack, boom, jack, boom, jack, boom,
Mm-hmm.
And it's swinging 16th on the snare and this funky little, kick pattern. And I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh man, I love that! Next time I sit down, I'm gonna check that out." And I sat down next time and thought I'd recreate it, and found that I couldn't line my foot up with the 16th. I was like, "What's going on?" It was like too simple. And I found if I could do double strokes and do it, I could do. There are different ways I could kind of accomplish it, but it didn't sound the same unless I did just straight right, left, swung 16th and this kick pattern. I couldn't do it. It was simpler than all the things I'd been working on, and I couldn't pull it off. And so that really started this whole kind of reinvention. I realized that I hadn't worked on the foundation. I hadn't worked on the spacing and volume and all the things that I needed so that I could do basic things,
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of covered for it by doing tricky things that, like, people figure out, or in my mind, people thinking, well, shoot, if he could do that, then I'm sure he could do the simple stuff. But I really couldn't do a lot of simple stuff. It didn't come naturally. And so I started working on exercises, which started with that beat and everything like that beat. And I kept working on it, different things, and coming up with new ideas. And I found that I was working out these bugs. I was gaining control of my note spacing and my volume and all these things just by working out these simple little patterns, forcing myself to go through them, thinking, this is so simple, why even waste your time? Well, do it. And I went through and I found that, man, everything changed. It was like I was listening back, I was doing sessions, I'd listen back to the track, and it was great. Everything was where it should be. And I felt like I discovered the secret of grooving. And so what happened was I was teaching a friend of mine, Terry Carroll. He was a kind of a novice drummer. He's really more into writing. He's a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going through some of those exercises with him, and it was making a big difference. And it was kind of his idea. He said, "Man, you should put these into a book." And at that point, I had 150 pages of exercises. I'd been doing this for like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And one thing led to another, and that's just what I did. And Terry helped me publish it, get it published. And it's called Groove Control, and it's basically forces you to line up your arms and legs in a way that maybe some people did early, but I didn't, And so,
now what would be the best place to find that book nowadays?
Well, nowadays the only place is write me and I'll mail you one. I have a new website up that I'm going to have it up on, but I don't have it up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just due to my lack of savviness. I just, I'm not super technical on the website.
Yeah.
But yeah, that book, Groove Control, was published in 2006, and I have copies here. I also have digital copy that I can email. And from there, I did another one called Beat Control, which was basically doing a similar idea, only with different ride patterns and different ghost note beats and different types of grooves and going over different bass drum combinations. So anyway.
Now, I know we were going to touch base on you giving lessons. Do you still teach out of these two books as well?
Yeah. Yes, I do. And at the end, we can talk about my new website. I I just opened a teaching studio, and so I want to definitely talk about that. And if anybody's interested in checking it out,
yeah,
you
and I'll provide links to all that stuff too when we're down here. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I was going to touch base with. Going into after you played for a while, what was your first band going into? Was it just were you just starting with the high school kids, or were you kind of jumping into the bigger leagues there?
You mean professionally, or
either or? I mean, did you just start in the garage band kind of setting, or did you just jump in?
Well, yeah. I mean, I I played with my brother and our friend Andy Baxter, and we had a band all through high school. And when I graduated high school, I started going out, looking, watching bands, meeting drummers, meeting other folks, and just kind of getting in the scene that way. But I eventually auditioned for a band and just got in a band and started playing shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I imagine that could work in this day and age now. What happens is, you play in a band and you open for somebody and you meet that drummer and, you end up coming up through the ranks and meeting different players, and then two bands break up and form one band and they call you to do that,
Mm-hmm.
And so for a few years in the Bay Area, where I grew up in Oakland, I played in a few different bands, and eventually, when Counting Crows formed, I was just, I was a drummer of a few that were playing in the club scene, and there were a few different bassists and keyboardists, and Adam and Dave, the leaders of Counting Crows, they were looking to put a band together, and I was lucky that I was the drummer they called,
Yeah, and you were on their debut big album too, right?
Yeah.
And how long did you stay with those guys? About a couple of years, though, right?
Yeah. Well, it was like 91, I think we got together, and to 94 or something. But yeah, I did the August and everything after, and we did all the tours, and did Letterman and Saturday Night Live. It was amazing.
Yeah, this is like one
a dream come true.
There's a lifetime experience just right there.
Hey, yeah, it was insane.
Growing up, I was air drumming to your stuff on the radio, because back then all we had was radio. So I was actually learning how to play to that album, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, and so when I came across making the show, I'm like, I kind of want to reach back to the people I looked up to and stuff, and that's a great album. I mean, it's just you're on it, but you're off the wall through the whole thing too. It's like you're not afraid to, play with the band and lead the band at the same time is the best way to put it.
Yeah, thanks. I always say I just tried to follow Adam. Adam was a very expressive singer,
mm-hmm.
and especially live, live he could raise his arms or lower his arms and just kind of guide everybody through the song, and so I was I was lucky that that record had incredible songwriting, and I always say the record would have done fine without me, but I'm glad I was there for it.
So I imagine a band like that doesn't play with the click. So how was it, emotional wise going into it? Was it just all dynamics all the time with those guys?
Well, we did do a lot of stuff with the click.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and that's fine. There was some stuff we didn't. I'm actually, and at the time, I was actually more comfortable recording with a click because I'd done it a lot, and I felt like if there's a click, then I don't have to worry about the time.
Yeah.
Getting to the end, everybody goes, "It's slowed down," So, but we did some songs without a click, and then I think most of them with a click. But yeah, there were some that we didn't. And this is when we recorded August and everything after, we'd been playing a lot, and so some of these songs, we played them so much that we really didn't need a click, but
mm-hmm.
but not all of them. So I don't know.
So after your departure with those guys, did you go straight into Third Eye Blind, or was there something in between there?
No, I was pretty straight into it. I actually wasn't looking to play music at all right then,
Really?
No, and Stephen Jenkins and Counting Crows had the same management for a while, so that's how I think we knew each other. But I did that for about 6-7 months, and it really wasn't a good time for me. I mean, it wasn't good timing for me. I just I had a little money in the bank for one because of Counting Crows, and I just didn't feel like we had much in common as people. And so because of that, I wasn't really hungry. I wasn't really like dying to be in the band. And so it wasn't anything. I was, I did it for a little while.
So jumping into that, was it a big dynamic change? Because I know they're more like a little bit more straight ahead, rock radio stuff.
Huge change. The big change musically, but that was fine because at that time I kind of wanted to hit hard and rock more, and but the change was more social. Counting Crows, just I had more in common with them, just like we're brothers, you know.
You came up with them, so
yeah, and then Third Eye Blind. I mean, no offense to those guys, they're freaking rock stars, you know, and they were then, and I just felt like this wasn't my bag.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So currently, are you playing any bands around town? Or I know everything's on kind of a slowdown right now, but what are you currently doing? Are you doing original projects right now, or more of the cover stuff?
I'm not doing anything live right now. What I'm doing, I'm teaching a lot, and also I've been. It's funny because I moved 30 miles, 30 minutes from Nashville, south into a town called Murfreesboro, the gateway to Smyrna. No, it's a little tiny Tennessee town.
Nice.
Got college here, and I love it. It's beautiful. But since I've been down here, I've had a ton of session calls in Nashville. So what I've been doing is driving up to Nashville to do sessions and then teaching down here. And what I assume, there's this old adage I love. It says, in Nashville, you're either being remembered or forgotten. And so I'm down here in Murfreesboro, fine being forgotten, and that's when the phone rings. But it's fine. It's a weird economy right now, and so people are getting back into recording. That's great, and maybe some live stuff next year. But right now, I'm happy just hanging out, talking to folks in the house, and playing disc golf, and got a new cat. I got lots of interests.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Nashville grow? Because I know a lot of people are flocking. I know due to obvious reasons there's a slowdown. Did you see a big cultural change in the last couple of years with Nashville? Because I know quite a few musicians myself that moved out there. I mean, do you see it growing, or kind of just staying the same?
Oh yeah, well, it's always growing. I mean, like we got to Nashville in 2006, and I mean, we were probably people said, "Hey, look at all those people coming in," because but we got there 2006, and I mean, from the time we got there, it's all people talk about is how many people come there, 75 people a day or whatever,
Yeah, we do that in Phoenix right now.
In Phoenix, yeah. Well, that's another beautiful place to be.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people coming here, and for other reasons than music. Music is actually Nashville's third industry.
Oh, really?
And healthcare is the big one.
Really, I didn't
know. Healthcare, and then tourism, and of course, music. But tourism, who knows where that is now? But yeah. So there's a lot of people coming to Nashville for lots of different reasons. But it is Music City, and if you're a good player, and you live in a town where you've kind of peaked out, what are you gonna do? I mean, there's Music City. I was never one that could imagine going to New York City and trying to duke it out, like,
that sounds rough.
carrying my snare drum on a subway,
Yeah.
But Nashville seemed friendly and possible and beautiful, and it has been. So
And do you see a drastic change? I know you mentioned New York, but would you say it's easier to fill into Nashville compared to something like LA?
Well, yeah. I mean, LA is another possibility because there's so much going on, and the only bummer is it's getting more expensive to live in the places where you can make a living doing music. I mean, Nashville included. Mm-hmm. Nashville, LA, Chicago, New York. Those are all cities where, and Atlanta actually, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough to make a living as a musician in a small town, mm-hmm. Unless you just want to teach all the time, and that's fine. But
overall touring and playing, what were your favorite countries or states or venues that were most memorable to you?
Oh man, there's just so much. One of the things I think about, Counting Crows, when we first went out, we went out in a van and trailer, and we did that for like 8-9 months.
Oh, quick question. Did you guys form in Seattle or San Francisco?
Oakland.
Berkeley. Okay. For some reason, I keep thinking Seattle for some reason, but sorry, go ahead.
There's a ton of stuff coming over from Seattle around that time, but it was all a little harder. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we drove this van for 8 months or 9 months, and in that time, we put 45,000 miles on it.
Jesus.
And then we got a bus, But that was just 1 year of my life, and I've done that so many years, So, mm-hmm. It's the whole world is a wonderful blur to me now. When I go on a tour, I only know if I've played the venue before when I walk in. I'll walk in and be like, "Oh yeah, this place," So I've just been doing it so long.
Do you miss that lifestyle, or do you kind of just like the small town Nashville feel a little bit more now?
Well, I love this. What I'm doing now is perfect for me, and I'm grateful for where I'm at. If I were to tour on a high level, mm-hmm. that would be great. But what I don't miss is getting in a van and trailer. I mean,
yeah, it's rough.
If I got a call from some band that has big production and buses and hotel rooms, hey, that'd be great. I could do that. but more likely, I would, be working with a baby band or band that's trying to make a living, and it's hard, and you got to work, and so that's better for a younger drummer.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I know we kind of jumped ahead, but I know you play. You said you mentioned you play a company called San Francisco Drums. Are you still playing with them as well?
Yeah, well, they're not really going right now. The owner of the company is doing some other stuff, kind of revamping. He's going to relaunch a little different design, but it's not really a viable company for another few months. So, and I don't have TV dates or stuff where I need an endorsement kit or anything. So there's really no reason, I speak to the owner once in a while. We don't even talk about drums, but he's a good friend of mine. So
I wanted to. Are you still playing the traditional 4 or 5 piece setup throughout the years?
Yeah. What I really love is 1 up, 1 down, and then if it's a bigger show, I like to add a second floor tom. Mm-hmm. And then the only other thing that I've been thinking about lately I've been looking at like a classic 5-piece 12, 13, 16 and a 22-inch bass drum. Lately I've been looking at that setup and just thinking, man, that is smooth. Yeah. An old-fashioned 5-piece lately is getting me excited to look at, but I don't know. I go through phases. I go through concert toms, roto toms. I get excited about lots of different options.
And have you stuck with Zildjian most of your career?
Yeah. I just have always loved the sound, and I've heard Pisces that I loved, but I love the complexity of Zildjian. There's just another tone or two involved in the decay or something that that I like. Of course, there's all kinds of different cymbals now, and Sabian is great, and then Bosphorus and all these new companies. But man, if you were raised in the '80s, I mean, Zildjian is, Zildjian and Feisty were the only options, and for me, it was Zildjian.
Pretty much the Levi's of drums,
Yeah, that's right. And why not? Still amazing.
Now that we talked about that, I kind of want to reach around back to your lessons. What would be the best place to contact you on your lessons and kind of get going with that?
Well, the best way is to go to my website. It's mumulab.org.
Okay.
mumulab.org. And there's a place you can write me on there, and it goes right to my email, and we can figure out a good time and do it online. Or if you're anywhere near Nashville, I'd love to have you come over.
Oh, cool. And your 2 books, excuse me, your 2 books there, you said they're going to be available through your website soon?
Yes. And I have paper hard copies of Groove Control, but I have both books online digitally, and if you wrote me there, I could send you one too.
Oh, nice. So, absolutely. I'm going to look at it myself.
Yeah, I just got an email from a guy who I recorded a 99 track CD with examples with Groove Control. Mm-hmm. Just got a call from a guy who lost his CD, and so I have a ton of those too. I mailed him one.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah. Steve, I know we probably could talk for hours, but I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know you got some lessons booked today, but yeah, it's been an honor to have you on. And like I said, I looked up to you, air drumming to the radio for years there, for Counting Crows, Third Eye Blinds, etc. But yeah, I mean, please check out Steve. He's on YouTube. You can find him there as well. Anything else you want to plug before we let you go there, Steve?
Man, I don't have anything else to plug. I'm grateful to meet you, and I thank you for giving me a call.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Maybe have you on again here soon.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.